welcome back. This video will be the finale to the manhood series. And so what we're going to do first, we're going to look at the various aspects of the A.D.D mentality. And then I'm going to share a little personal story with you that has to do with application of the concept that we've discussed. So the A.D.D mentality consists of three main qualities or notions: accountability, discipline, determination. And we covered accountability in the first video, and the definition for accountability is the quality or state of being accountable, an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility for one's actions. And so as we discussed in that particular video, in essence, it means that a person takes a certain responsibility upon themselves, and that responsibility may come in the form of a goal, and then that person, along with taking responsibility, they formulate a reliable plan that will help them get to their destination. And that's all part of accountability. It involves realistic goals, and it involves the necessary planning to reach those goals. And then we have the second notion or second quality, that of what? Discipline. And so discipline, as we talked about, is restraint that helps a person to persist in a positive direction. And at the same time, it helps an individual to resist moving in a negative direction. So an individual who's disciplined is very aware of his circumstances, and despite some of the negative elements in his circumstances, he chooses purposefully to go in the right direction. And so one of the things that we talked about as far as discipline is concerned is being able to take a situation that may be positive and help that situation to continue to persist, or an individual can take a negative situation and turn it into a positive one. So now, our last notion in the A.D.D mentality is determination. And determination is defined as a positive emotional feeling that involves persevering toward a goal despite obstacles. And so we talked about that at length in the video that we discussed that talked about determination. In any goal that an individual sets, there will be difficulties. We even said that the higher or loftier the goal, the more determination will be needed in order to reach that particular goal. So determination right off the bat requires effort. It requires a resistance to relenting. It requires an individual to have a mindset that they're going to continue to move forward regardless of what happens, because they have a goal in mind that they need to reach. So as you might have noticed, as I was going through all of the videos in the manhood series, I feel very passionately about these three qualities. So why am I so dead set on these three qualities? Well, for one thing, everyone who I've ever looked up to, everyone who has been a personal mentor to me, has exhibited that mentality. Now, they may not have been able to put it into words, but accountability, discipline, and determination was some of the key elements that they used in life to continue and to be successful in whatever goal they had. Like we mentioned, whether it was financially, whether it was physically as far as their health, or whether it was spiritually, whatever goal an individual set, I saw individuals reaching those goals by means of this mentality. They were always willing to take accountability. They were always willing to improve on their discipline, and they always had determination about the things that they had decided to do. So I've seen people, both men and women, and this particular mentality, as we mentioned, is universal. Whatever difficulties you find yourself in, whatever position in life that you find yourself in, if you apply these three principles, these three concepts, then you will be able to move in a way that will help you to achieve your goals. So as we mentioned, I've seen women and men, both, They've been able to take on these qualities and they've been able to be successful. And not only that, they've been able to be an example to others because I took notice of the things that they did and how they carried themselves and the respect and the dignity that they earned because of applying this same mentality. But for a moment, I want to get personal with you, if I might, especially for the young ones that are listening. This mentality is so important to me because you see, at one point in life, I hit a wall, and I hit that wall pretty hard. I was flunking out of college. I was staying on the couch in the apartment of two of my best friends. So, can you imagine yourself sitting across from a long wooden table, and on the other side of the table is a woman that works in academics, and in front of her she has letters, she has things that are pertaining to my grades, that pertaining to my conduct, and so forth. And this hearing is to determine whether or not I'm going to have to take a semester off. So as you can imagine, I'm in a very stressful state. Well, how did I get to this state? How am I sitting at the end of this table waiting on this woman to decide what my fate is going to be? Well, you see, the years prior to that, in my sophomore and my freshman year, things had went particularly well. But you see, my father passed away. And not too long before that, my grandmother passed away. And not too long, my great uncle passed away. Now, for those of you that know me, that are familiar with my family, you already know that one of the most important individuals in my entire life was my great uncle, Vanderbilt Griffin. I did a video sometime back, and I discussed how it was that really he was the individual that taught me what it meant to be a man, what it meant to be a provider and a protector, what it meant to be a teacher, what it meant to set an example that could help other individuals around you. And so he was the individual that was instrumental in that. There are so many things that I do now because he's the one that taught me those things. And then, of course, my grandmother, who I was very fond of, and then my father passed away, as I mentioned. And so all of that, all of the difficulties that resulted from those three situations had come to a head, among other difficulties that I was having at the time. But let's go back. I'm sitting at the table across from this lady, and she's about to hand down the verdict. But before she hands down the verdict, she does something strange. She looks across the table at me and she asks me, "What's going on with you?" Because as I mentioned, freshman and sophomore year had gone well. I was on my way to becoming an engineer. So her question, and I understood the sense of it, what was going on with me. Well, after I explained to her in detail what had happened, she told me that the difficulties that I had experienced were things that I could not handle alone, and that I needed to get some help so that I could get back on track. And so I took her advice and I did that. And I'm happy to say that she decided that she wasn't going to kick me out of school. Can you imagine having that conversation with my mom? Yeah, that would have been difficult. But now, I remember also, right after that happened, I was sitting on the couch in my friend's apartment. Now, the two friends who I'm mentioning here are Sean and Marlon. We came from the same area. Basically, we had the same upbringing. We are from the Delta in Mississippi. And so I remember sitting on the couch, and I remember his door opens. And he stands at the door probably about 5 seconds, and he says, "Preach," which is what they called me, "Preach. I need to talk to you, man. Come in here." So I get up and, I gather myself and I go into the room where he is. And if you know Sean has always been the one that's outspoken among the three of us. I have come to really appreciate that characteristic. And as I came into the room, he started to talk to me. And I remember most of all him telling me that he was not going to allow me to throw away what I had worked so hard for. And then he reminded me of all of the difficulties that my mom and dad had went through to get me to this point, and how if I didn't do what I needed to do, that I would be letting everyone down, including him and Marlon. Because you see, they believed in me. They knew that there was something inside of me that, if given the opportunity, I could be successful. And even to this day, whatever I'm involved in, I know that I can count on their support. But you see, that particular day, that particular conversation with Sean was a turning point in my life. Because you see, at that particular time, I had given up. I had no more energy that I could muster to do anything. I was going to simply flunk out of college, and hey, maybe I'll go and become a barber. I was good at cutting hair anyway. But you see, that conversation in itself helped me to reassess my own accountability. And within that accountability, I had to take responsibility for the position that I had put myself in. And then after looking at that position, it was my responsibility to come up with a plan so that I could achieve the goal that I had set in the beginning. And so it took quite a bit of discipline. There were days that I didn't want to go. There were days that I would rather have stayed stationary, but they wouldn't allow me to. They kept pushing and pushing and pushing until one day they didn't have to. I was back on track. I was making progress. I was passing classes. I was getting back to the person that I originally was. So you see, this mentality is nothing that I play with. This mentality is the reason why you see me sitting here instead of in a jail cell somewhere. This mentality has meant the difference between me achieving the goals I have set in life and simply just allowing life to take me wherever it pleased. So I'm very passionate about this whole set of principles that we have, this whole mentality, because I know for a certainty that it will work. If an individual is willing to be accountable, if they're willing to work on their discipline, and if they're willing to apply the necessary determination, there's absolutely nothing within reason that they can't accomplish. If you wish to go back and get your high school diploma, if you didn't finish high school, you can do it. If you wish to go to college, you can do it. If you wish to start a business, you can do it. If you wish to look at your physical health and lose weight and put yourself in a better position as far as your health is concerned, you can do that. The only thing it takes is the necessary accountability, discipline, and determination. So, as we mentioned, the A.D.D mentality is something that's universal. It's a concept that already exists. It's a concept that undoubtedly you yourself have already been employing. I just put a name to it. So in summary, positive goals call for a positive mindset that's accompanied by positive action. There will be problems along the way. There will be times when you will stumble and fall. But the strength that you need to pick yourself up comes from inside, from who you are inside, from what you've built yourself to be. Do you have the qualities that are necessary to pick yourself up? Do you have the qualities that are necessary to regain the strength that's necessary for you to continue in a positive direction? That's all left up to you. But I will say this. If you build up your strength sufficiently, you will set a goal and you will achieve it. You will set another goal and you'll achieve it. And then after a while, you'll come to realize that every goal that you set, you're able to achieve because of this mentality that you have developed. Yes, accountability, discipline, determination. I would like to thank you for sticking with me through this manhood series. It was an opportunity for me to show you who I am, and in the content that comes in the following weeks and months, we're going to try to become more interactive, try to involve other individuals, try to bring in some positive examples of masculinity that can help not only the older ones, but also the younger brothers who might be tuning in and listening and looking and trying to find their way in the world. So as always, we're thankful, we're grateful to you for your support. Be easy.